we are going to learn about jagged array. Okay, so we have seen earlier that we can declare an initialize array like this. So this is 2D array. Okay, and name of this array is array, and we can initialize this array like new int, then number of rows in the array like 3, and number of columns in the array like 3. So earlier we have seen this is how we can declare an initialized 2D array. First we will learn about some concepts of 2D array. In 2D array we have to, this is number of rows. So this 2D array has number 3 rows. Okay, this has 3 rows like student 1, student 2 and student 3, and number of columns, and this is number of columns. Okay, 3, this is number of columns. So it can be age, it can be roll number, it can be phone number. So it has 3 columns: first column, second column and third column. So 3 represents number of columns, and age, this represents number of rows: student 1, student 2, student 3. So this is how we define and declare this 2D array. Okay, suppose now if I omit this thing, so it becomes jagged array. Jagged array are nothing but a array which is defined, which has the number of rows, but we don't know each row how many columns will be there. So for first student row, there can be only two columns like age and roll number. For the second student, we can have 3 columns. Okay, like this, and for the third row, we can have only 1 column. So we know number of rows is defined. So this jagged array will have number of rows, 3 rows: student 1, student 2, student 3. But number of column in each row is not defined. Like for S1, there is only 2 number of columns: age and roll number. For S2, there are 3 number of columns: age, roll number and phone number. For S3, suppose there is only 1 column: age. So this kind of 2D array is known as jagged array. Okay, so now right now I don't have any fixed number of column for each row. So I have declared this array, this jagged array like this, and further I can provide the size of columns in each rows like array of 0. At 0th row, this array will have size of equal to new int number of columns in this 0th row will be suppose 2. Okay, and number of columns in the first row at first index row, suppose new int 3. Okay, 3 columns, and number of columns in the second index array, second index row array, suppose new int 1, only 1 column in the last index. So this whole thing is known as a jagged array. So at the declaration itself, we know number of rows in the jagged array will be 3, and we don't know number of columns in each row. For the first row at 0th index, first row, we will have 2 columns. For the first index, we will have 3 columns. For the second index, we will have only 1 column. Okay, so how we can print the values in the jagged array? We can apply a for loop like earlier, and we have columns also like for j less than. Now we don't have fixed number of size. Like if we had 3 number of size, then we can put 3 directly here. But in each row, number of columns vary. Number of columns are variable. So they are changing. Like in first row it has 2 columns, in second row it has 3 columns, and third row it has only 1 column. So it is changing. So what we can do here, instead of providing 3 directly, we can provide array of I. Okay, I will be nothing but this number of rows. Okay, for the first row, like for ith row dot length of this row will be number of columns. Okay, and j plus plus, and we can print the element in we can provide new line statement also, like system. So let's run this program and see the output. So initially we are declaring and declaring this jagged array, and we have 3 rows in this array. We don't know what number of columns each row will have. Okay, so we have declared this array. So initially number of columns in each row we don't know. So here this array has 3 rows: 0th row, 1st row, and 2nd row. Okay, and we don't know number of columns in each row. We don't know. Okay, so at line number 4 we are defining. We are saying that 0th number row will have 2 columns, and 0th number. So this 2D array is nothing but array of array. So 0th element have array which will have 2 columns, and since we are initializing with the integer data type, so these two columns will have 0th value initially. Okay, so line number 4 is executed. So 0th row will have 2 columns, 0 and 1 is the default value for integer data type. And then we are executing line number 5. So in line number 5 we are saying that row number 1, okay, this is row number 1, array of 1 is nothing but this row will have 3 elements, 3 columns. So array of 1 will have 3 columns, 0, 1, 2, and default value will be provided to the array. Default value will be 0. So this is 0, 0, 0. Okay. Now we have array of 2, int new, int 1. So now in the this row, second index row, we will have an array of 1 column. So 1 column and default value will be 0. So array of 2 will have default array of 2 will have default value as 0, and number of columns in this array will be 1 only. See, 1 column only. Then we are executing line number 8. So I will be defined as a 0 and 0 less than 3. This condition is true. So we will come into the inner for loop, j equal to 0. Initially j will be defined. Okay, initially j will be 0. 0 less than array of I dot length. So array of I is 0. I is 0. So array of I is this thing. Okay, this thing, this array. This array of I dot length will be 2. So 0 less than 2, this condition will be true. Okay, this condition will be true. So we will execute line number 10, and we are printing 0j, array of 0 and j. So 0 and j is also 0. So array of 0, this thing, this 0th row, and j will be 0. So it will print 0. And then j will, since we are running into the for loop, so j will become 1. J will become 1. 1 less than array dot length, 1 less than array dot length will be 2 only. Okay, 1 less than 2, this will be true. So 0 will be printed. Array of ij, array of 0 will be this thing, this array, and 1 j is 1. So this 0 will be printed. See, this 0 is printed. Now j will become 2. So j is 2 right now. And 2 less than 2, this condition will become false. Array 0 dot length will be 2, and j is 2. 2 less than 2, this condition is false. We will come out for this inner for loop, and we will print line number 12. So new line break will come. So cursor will be here only. Okay. So then j is gone, because j was a local variable for this for loop. J is gone now. So I will be incremented. I will become 1. I is 1 right now, and 1 less than 3. This condition is true. 1 less than 3. Okay, so we will execute inner loop. So here we are initializing and declaring j. So j will become 0. J will be 0, and j less than array dot length. Array of I dot length. Array of I is 1. Array of I is 1. Array of I is 1. This array, and length of this array will be 3. Okay, length of this array will be 3. So it will print array of ij. I will be 1. Okay, I will be 1 and j will be 0. So it will print 0. Then increment will happen, j will become 1 and 1 less than array dot length, 1 less than 3 is true. This value will be printed. Okay, okay, then j will become 2. J will become 2. So 2 less than 3, j less than array I dot length. I is 1. So length will be array of I dot length will be 3. 2 less than 3, this condition is true. So line number 10 will be executed, and here we are printing ij. I is 1. Okay, I is 1 and j will be 2. So this 0 will be printed. Okay, so here 0 will be printed here in the output box. See, this 0 is printed because this first row has 3 columns. Okay, we have defined 3 columns in the first row. Now j will be incremented. J will become 3. Okay, this condition will be 4. 3 less than 3. Array of I is 1. So 1, it has 3 elements in the array. So it will be 3. 3 less than 3. This condition is false. Now we are printing new line statement system.out.println. This is new line statement. So cursor will come on the next line. So I will be incremented. I will become 2. Okay, I will be 2. 2 less than 3. This condition is true. 2 less than 3. This condition is true. So inner for loop will be executed and we are declaring and initializing j. So j will become 0. Initially j will be 0. 0 less than array iu dot length. Array I is 2. So 2 will be this element 2 and 2 has this array. Element 2 has this array. So this array dot length will be 1. So 0 less than 1. This is true. 0 less than 1 is true. So line number 10 will be executed because that condition was true. So here we are printing array of ij. So I is 2. So here this is the second element, second row, and I of array of ij, j is 0. For here we will come 2 will be here and j will be 0. So this element will be printed. So 0 will be printed here in the output box. See, 0 is printed. Again we will increment our j will become 1. Okay, j has become 1. 1 less than array of I dot length. Array of I is 2. So 2 will have this array and length of this array is 1. So j is 1 and length of this array is 1. 1 less than 1. This condition will be false. So we will come out this inner for loop and line number 12 will be executed. Okay, we have provided new line break. So cursor will be here only. And here we will increment our I will be 3. So I will be 3 and 3 less than 3. This condition will be false. 3 less than 3 condition will be false. So we will come out this for loop also. And I will be gone because I was local variable for this for loop. I will be gone. See, I has gone. And we are at the end of the program and this is how we have printed different number of columns in the array. So jagged array is nothing but a 2D array which has variable number of columns in each row of the array. Okay, so jagged array will have some fixed number of row and each row can have different number of columns. So we can further optimize this. Further, what we can do, we can provide the actual value. Here we are using the default values in this array. So we can use actual values. Like we can define value equal to 1. Okay, initially, and we can have this for loop, and using this for loop we can provide the actual values. Actual values will be nothing but we can provide it and we can assign actual values like this equal to value and value plus plus. So now we will assign the actual values and let's run this program and see the output. So here we are declaring the array, and here we are initializing the each row with the number of columns in the array. Okay, and array will be initialized with the default values. Okay, So three initially this array has 3 rows. Okay, we don't know, and each row will represent an array because today array is nothing but array of array. Each element in this row will represent an array, and we don't know what number of columns each row has. So first row has two columns, so it will have 2 columns, and second row will have 3 columns here. So one index will have 3 columns, and second index will have 1 column. Yes, see, and initially value will be 1, so value is 1. Then we will inside the for loop, and I will be 0 and I will be 0 and 0 less than 3, this condition is true, so we will execute inner for loop. So initially j will be 0, j will be 0, 0 less than array of I dot length. So array of I is I is 0, so array of I will represent this array, and length of this array is nothing but 2, nothing but 2. 0 less than 2, this condition will be true, j plus plus will happen, and array of ij will be value. Array of I will be this, I will be 0 and j will be 0, so this element will become value, this element will be 1. Okay, so this has become 1. So we are incrementing value, so value will become 2, it will be 2. Then I plus j plus plus will happen, j will become 1, j will become 1, and 1 less than array of I dot length, I is 0, so length of this array is 2, so 1 less than 2, this condition is true. Okay, so we will execute line number 12. So here we are saying array of ij equal to value, array of ij, I is 0 and j is 1, so array of 0, array of I will be 0 and j will be this thing, this element, so it will become 2. See, it has become 2, and we are incrementing the value, so value will become 3. And again we will increment our j, array of I dot length will be 2. Okay, and j will become 2, so 2 less than 2, this condition will be false, we will come out this inner for loop, so j will be gone because j is a local variable to this inner for loop, so j is gone, and we will increment our I will become 1. Okay, and we will execute our inner for loop, j will be 0, initially 0 less than array of I dot length, array of I is 1, so array of I will be this array, and length of this array is 3, length of this array is 3, so this line will be executed, j equal to 0 less than 3, this condition is true, so line number 12 will be executed. And what we are doing at line number 12, array of ij equal to value, array of I will be 1, okay, and j will be 0, so j here this element will be updated with the value will be 3, so this element will become 3. Okay, so this has become 3. Similarly, this is how we will assign number of values in each element of the array. So this will have 5, will have 5, and this element in the array will have 6. So currently value is 5, so value will be incremented at line number 13, value will become 6. Okay, so right now j will be incremented, j will become 3. Okay, 3, so I is 1, I is 1, 1 means this array, length of this array is 3, and j is 3, 3 less than 3, this condition is false, so we will come out this inner for loop, and I will be incremented, I will become 2, I will become 2, so 2 less than 3, this condition is true, this condition is true, so inner for loop will be executed and j will become 0. See, j is 0, 0 less than area of I dot length, area of I is 2, I area of I, so 2, this is 2, area of I 2, this will be this, and area of 2 will be 0, this array, area of 2 will be this array dot length will be 1, so 0 lesser than 1, this condition is true, so line number 12 will be executed. And what we are doing at line number 12, we are assigning array of ij equal to value, so value is 6, array of I will be 2, here 2, and j will be 0, so this will have this will have value 6. 6 is here, value 6. Okay, so value will be incremented, value will become 6, 7. Value will become 7. And again we are running into the inner for loop. So j will be incremented, j will become 1. Okay, j is 1. And we are doing j less than array of I dot length. I is 2. So I is 2 here. And length of this array is 1. So array of, so 1 less than 1, j is 1. So 1 less than 1, this condition is false. 1 less than 1 condition is false. We will come out this inner for loop and I will be incremented. Okay, I will become 3. 3 less than 3, this condition is false. So we will come out this for loop. Okay, we will come out this for loop, and now we will execute this for loop. And in this for loop, what we are doing, we are just printing elements in this array, in this jagged array. So elements will be printed. See the output box. See here, we are one by one we are printing elements of each row. Okay, each row elements will be printed. So this is end of the program. So we have successfully assigned the values in the array and we have printed values in the jagged array. So this is all about jagged array. Jagged array can have variable number of columns in each row. So jagged array is nothing but basically a 2D array which can have variable number of columns in each row.